So we're going to start with Mr. Shadrick Lusambo, just speaking to us about what are some of the innovative approaches that businesses can adopt in structuring their operations and helping them maximize profitability in today's economy. And at what point should they consider using debt as a strategy for growth? Because some friends sometimes think you need to get debt at the onset of the business. Is it sustainable to get debt? Please speak to us about that.
All right, fantastic. That's a very good question. Thank you very much. And you're welcome. We know that it's been raining and you've managed to come through. Thank you so much. So some of the innovative approaches that I think businesses can adapt, especially startups and SMEs, the number one that I've seen works for me very well is automation. And I must say this, that I recently did a course in automation and AI. And the first day I tested to run that automation, within the first 30 minutes, I was able to make sales of about 8,500. And I just couldn't believe it because it was just way too fast. So why I say this is because now we live in a global village where we have people from Kenya, Botswana, Zimbabwe, the UK, the United States. So as you begin to start your business, one of the things you can adopt as an innovation is automation. That is the number one thing that will make you become successful. And why I say this is this. If you're going to become a very rich man in the business, you have to look beyond the current economy, because the economy that we're into affects how well you perform. Zambia has 20 million people. You can't become a billionaire in Zambia. It's practically impossible because the population is small. So automation gives you access to wider audiences, different people from different locations. That is number one thing I can advise. But also, I think you have to also understand, you asked about when can they use debt in business. Personally, I love debt. I've always said I love debt. I'm OPM all the way, other people's money all the way. But there's a caveat to that. Our good lawyer will explain to what a caveat means if you don't know what it means. There's a caveat to that. So debt should be gotten at a point where there's imminent demand in the market, that this demand cannot wait for you. If you delay, someone to take it up. That's the only time you consider using debt. If you're starting up a business, don't even think about debt, because there's a lot of things to learn and relearn. So debt is not really good. So let me give you some statistics. If you are here in Zambia or just in Africa at large, we have the average return on investment in Zambia is between 12 to 15% on an annual basis. Now, debt in Zambia is given at a rate of 5 to 7% above inflation. And in some worst case scenarios, it's 8 to 12% above inflation. What that means, it means that if inflation is, say, 10%, that means you get debt at 18% to 20%. Now, here is something I've noticed, because I'm very keen when it comes to following the markets. And I've been observing the Zambian inflation. I'm not going to say the one that we are given by our authorities is not accurate, but I feel it's been misrepresented. Why do I say so? I say so because if you go to the bank today to get a loan, you're going to get at about 27 to 30%. Now, loans are given 5 to 7% above inflation. So if you're going to get a loan at 30%, it means inflation is somewhere around 20% to 23%. This is why financiers and bankers don't really follow our local statistics. They go with the World Bank and IMF. Now, why do I give you those statistics? I want you to understand something. The relationship between the return on investment and the debt, these two are not mutually exclusive. Why? Imagine you get a return of 10 to 12% annually, but you go and borrow money, you pay back 27 to 30%. Where are you getting the profit from? This is why startups fail, because they borrow at 30%, the return is about 12 to 15%, but the debt is expensive. So the only time you get debt is when you see there's a huge opportunity, you factor in the cost of debt, and then that cost of debt is being outweighed by the benefits of this particular opportunity, then you can get debt when there's imminent demand. So as a startup, think about the return on investment before you get your debt. I think that's what I can say on that one.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lusambo, for that clarity, because I heard from the introduction that most of the friends are startup entrepreneurs, and it's sometimes not very clear on certain steps that one has to take. But that really does clarify on when should one, consider taking debt and at what levels. Because sometimes when you say debt is good and there's eminent, sometimes they don't factor in the cost; they'll just get it. But now that you raise that, there should be a consideration of at what cost is your debt and how much profit are you making from that debt. That is very important. And you did speak to also automation in the market space on structuring.